A young, bright-eyed girl who's obsessed with the style and music of a prior generation moves to London to attend fashion school when she discovers she is able to visit the 1960s in her dreams. Director Edgar Wright is known for his unique directing style. He uses music and razor-tight editing to add a sense of urgency and humor to his films. Last Night in Soho is the first film in the horror genre that Wright has directed. Now sure, Shaun of the Dead is a zombie movie, but I don't think anybody in their right mind would consider that a horror movie. But this is the first time that I've not felt that the editing had that Edgar Wright charm. It felt more traditional, with the exception of an impressive dance scene that was probably more choreography than editing. But his exquisite taste in music and being able to find the perfect song for every scene was shining through here. Last Night in Soho is billed as a horror movie, but you're not really going to realize that until you're about halfway through the movie. It starts off as this bright and vibrant look at an up-and-coming singer in 1960s London. The costumes and set pieces just pop off the screen and feels like what I imagine 1960s London felt like. And the plot follows a young college student named Eloise who lives in modern-day London but is able to visit the 1960s in her dreams. At first, she looks forward to going to sleep each night and waking up in the decade she wishes she grew up in. And this section of the movie kind of reminded me of Woody Allen's Midnight in Paris, but the tone slowly shifts and begins to feel more like David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. And by this point, Eloise is now afraid to go to sleep. Because, as it turns out, 1960s London really isn't as glamorous as the songs and movies she grew up watching led her to believe. In fact, it could be downright cruel. Last Night in Soho plays out like a cautionary tale of falling too heavily into that nostalgia and wishing you grew up in a generation before your time. Now, of course, there's a lot more to the story than I've laid out here, and the deeper into the story you get, the darker it becomes. There were several surprises along the way. Some were obvious from a mile away, and some were not. And I've heard a lot of people complain about some of the CGI in the movie, both that it's overused and when it is used it doesn't look that good, but I actually thought it worked well and looked fine. And the movie has two incredible female leads, Thomasin McKenzie and Anya Taylor-Joy, and they both shine through in their roles. Both of these girls are gonna be huge stars. And the rest of the supporting cast is also great, but really the movie is just about these two girls. It just wouldn't work without them. In Edgar Wright, he's just oozing with creativity. No matter if he's making a comedy or an action film or a horror movie, you're guaranteed to hear some great music and see and think about things that you've never thought about before. And to me, Edgar Wright is one of the most exciting directors working today. Now, while I don't think this is his best work, that would go to Shaun of the Dead or Scott Pilgrim vs. the World or Baby Driver, it is a great movie that I think most people can find something in it to enjoy. Living it up in 1960s London, renting a room from a mean old woman, dancing in the dark, performing as a marionette, traveling by train.